Molweni Quintessentials. It's been a minute. I know I've been away. I took a small hiatus, but I am back today. And as you know, it's International Women's Month, so I will be talking about how it is that you should calculate your rates. I mean, that's a very important part of your work as a freelancer, as a consultant, as an entrepreneur. You never want to undervalue yourself, and you never want to underquote. And in the same breath, you also don't want to overquote, or you don't want to quote yourself out of business. So what is the happy medium when it comes to knowing how to quote your rates? What are the things that you need to be thinking about? So stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, quintessential ladies and gentlemen, how do you calculate your rate? So first of all, you need to look at the project that you are going to be sending a cost estimate for. Is it project based? Is it a daily rate? Is it an hourly rate? How do you calculate your fee? Step one is to figure out your pricing model. Like I've already mentioned, there's different types. So ideally you want a situation where you have a constant flow of revenue stream. And the best way to achieve that is to work either on a project basis, hopefully a long-term, preferably a long-term project, or you can have a retainer. But of course, it depends on the client's requirements. It depends on if it's a tender, what is the scoping, is it short-term, is it long-term? So that's the first thing that you need to look at. What is the scope? What is the request? What is the brief? If it is a daily rate that you want to be charging, you need to assess your skill set. You need to look at your expertise, you need to look at your experience, and you need to make a judgment on whether is this role appropriate for your level of expertise. So is it a junior role, is it a senior role, and will you be able to fulfill the obligations of this specific role? And that will inform how it is that you quote. If it is a project-based assignment, then you can be flexible in terms of how it is that you send. You can be flexible in your quotations and scope your fees according to the services that you're offering. So if you're an agency like myself and you're on a project, you look at the scope in terms of what is required from you as a consultant. Is there a social media scope? Is there a public relations, media engagement, reputational management? Is it crisis communication? Is it all the above? And if it's all the above, then of course you have to quote according to the services that you will be providing. So it's not a daily rate as such, or you can take your daily rate and convert it based on the services that you are providing. So if your daily rate, let's say for instance, for social media management is 10 Rand, and your daily rate for events management is 15 Rand, then you would combine that fee and come up with a project fee, because you are now performing multiple tasks on this specific project. As opposed to if you were offering one service, then you would use your daily rate. A retainer can therefore also be an option in the sense that you have a set fee that you charge every month to the client for specific fees rendered. The retainer fee is a standard fee that is paid monthly over a specific period of time. So you and the client decide whether this is a yearly, an annual contract, over a 6 month period, and that is the retainer fee that you are paid for services rendered. So this could be, like I've mentioned, your project fee that can actually be converted into a retainer fee. So you are a creative agency, you offering a variety of skill sets, a variety of competencies, and you charge a specific fee every month. So 100 Rand retainer fee for social media, for events management, for digital marketing. That would be a package deal that you're offering the client every month. One thing with retainer fees that we should be mindful of is that you are able to change your pricing structure if the scoping, of course, changes. So if the client decides that they want to add more items onto your scope of work, then of course that means that you have to pay more money. So just because you were paying, just because the client was paying 100 Rand, it doesn't mean that that fee is now fixed forever. So when you are signing your retainer contracts, have that discussion, that open and frank discussion with your client, and explain to them how it is that the pricing schedule is going to work, because you don't want to lock yourself into fees that are where you feel like you are over servicing and you are not getting your money's worth, or the client may feel that you are underperforming and they feel that you are being overpaid for a specific service. So those are conversations that need to be continually had between you and your client, because the requirements and the needs and the happenings in the organizations shift. It's important for you as a consultant, as a business, to pivot with the organization and be fair in your pricing. You should be open and honest with your client to say, because there's certain services that we haven't been rendering, we won't be charging as much, and you can rework your pricing schedule. But if the work, like I've mentioned, the scope is increasing, then never be shy to say the scope is increased and we're offering more services, we need more resources, and these are the costs that are involved in this specific project, in the specific assignment, in the specific work that we are doing. The second thing that you need to think about when you are working on your pricing schedule is speak to other consultants, speak to your peers within the industry and find out what are they charging. What are the costs involved in servicing in your specific industry? I think the benefit in my situation is that I have a business partner, so we are able to bounce ideas off each other, and we have open and frank discussions about how it is that we are charging, whether it's for joint venture projects that we're doing together or whether it's our individual projects that we are doing separately. So speak to your peers, speak to other people, speak to other consultants that are in the industry and find out what is the cost, so that you don't underquote for your services, because at times you might still be suffering from imposter syndrome, or you just simply don't know what are the market rates. So when you speak to your peers and you speak to other people, then you are able to understand how it is that you should be quoting. Because the last thing you want to do is to be underquoting and the client will look at your quote like, okay, this fee seems very low for the required services, and they may be hesitant to take you on because you've underquoted. But in the same breath, if you overquote, you might price yourself out of work because you feel that this is what you deserve, this is what you've worked for, you have these specific qualifications, you've studied for this long, you've got experience in the industry, you've been in business for a protracted period of time, and you feel that this is your worth, you know your worth. Yesterday's price is not today's price, but even if yesterday's price is not today's price, be careful not to price yourself out of work, because at times you may find that you are assigned to a specific project and you might have to quote a little bit below what it is that you were expecting, but the project could be extended, or there could be other opportunities, you could meet different people, and that is an opportunity for you to leverage the moment, to leverage on the opportunities that arise from a specific project. The client will accept your rates if they believe that the service that you are rendering is worth that specific rate. And the client that is not for you will go a different direction, and that's okay. But never quote below your usual rate just to appease a client or just to keep a client, because what's going to happen is that you're going to build resentment. The quality of the work may suffer. You may even come up with challenges, and when those challenges come up, the relationship may even combust because you feel as though you have shortchanged yourself, you didn't quote the appropriate quotes, now you are being overworked, now you're finding yourself in a situation where you have to overservice and that could have simply been avoided by you opting to say no. No is a full sentence. If it's not the right fee and they're not willing to pay, there is another client that is willing to pay your fee, and it's really that simple. And I'm talking from experience right now. If a potential client walks away from you because of your rate, then that wasn't the client for you to begin with. So let it go. Don't undervalue yourself. Stick to your guns and name your price. Especially as women, we have a tendency to be fearful we have a tendency to not be bold enough to name our prices. And that could come from a number of different factors. You know, you are grateful to have the opportunity. It may appear as a once in a lifetime opportunity. You don't want to pass it up. It could be a situation of misplaced gratitude. As women, we are naturally altruistic. We naturally want to give back, but this is business. There is a time and a place to, you know, have your charity, have your foundation and give back. But in business, just because you're passionate about a specific job, that doesn't mean that you must now shortchange yourself and underquote. And in my situation, I believe that it's taken a lot of practice, and doors will close at times. But like I've mentioned, if it's the right client for you, then they will work for you. If it's not, then let the door shut. We live in a capitalist society, and there are other businesses that are actually charging the appropriate cost. So you also need to be market related so that we can all compete on a level, even plane, and also strengthen the competitive nature in which we are working in. So know your price first and foremost. Figure out your pricing model. Speak to your peers, and don't be afraid to name your price. Quintessentials, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed. Do not be afraid to speak up for yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in my next video. Cheers. Bye.